My friend Eddie is a huge Oprah fan. He was obsessed with Oprah, is obsessed with Oprah, and I was going to this event where Oprah was being honored, and I took him as my date because I knew that would be the most fabulous thing for him. And he was so excited to get a photo with Oprah, and I was like, Eddie, I'm not going to guarantee that. I'm not going to humiliate myself by going up to Oprah and asking for you photo. I've met her, but I don't. And I said to him, you know how you always hate it when people come up to me and when we're having dinner or something and ask me for a photo, it makes you so angry that they don't respect my time and privacy. And he was like, I understand what you're saying. I still want a photo with Oprah, though. And so we get to this event, and this is a long story, but we get to this event where Oprah's being honored, and we're at this table, quite on the outskirts. I say it's like kind of like we're all sort of planets orbiting Oprah. She's in the center with this table with like Steven Spielberg and Jesus and all these people. And we're all at these satellite tables just sort of orbiting her. So there was a lull in the thing where it was like Barbara Walters was introducing it. There was Ishtak Perlman and Jesse Norman, and it was just crazy. Here we go. So basically there's an interval. Everyone began to stand up and table hop. The mood of the room was giddy, high on the flowing wine and the inhalation of the very nearness of Oprah, as well as apprehension about what she would say and what new life lessons she would impart in her imminent speech. Just then, Gail, Oprah's BFF, swept up to our table and asked us if we were enjoying ourselves. We nodded vigorously. Someone tapped Gail on the shoulder and she turned away. Suddenly, I saw my opening. From my point of view, Eddie's head was right next to Gail's bum. And if I couldn't get a shot of him with Oprah, surely a shot of him with Gail's ass would be a valiant runner-up. Please note, I had been drinking. I told Eddie to turn his head toward me, and in an instant, I knew he got my plan. But just as I'd taken the photo, I thought would be the talking point of the night, Eddie, with his hawk-like gaze, had spotted that Oprah had stood up at the central table. Zoom in on Oprah, and I'll be in the foreground, he said, giggling and giddy. I started to fiddle with the camera's buttons in order to do so, but when I looked into the lens again, I was shocked to see that Oprah had not merely stood up, she was walking away from her table. And she was not merely walking away from her table, she was totally walking in our direction. And then it hit me. Oprah was going to the loo, and her trajectory to do so was going to take her right past our table. Eddie, she's coming. She's coming this way. She's going to pass right by us. I was trembling, trying to unzoom the camera that was still aimed at unattainable goddess Oprah, just as real, touchable, just like you and me. Needing to pee Oprah was mere feet away. I turned the camera off in my panic, but miraculously got it back on just as she was upon us. I lifted it up and aimed it toward her. The screen was a blur, and I realized I still hadn't mastered the zoom. As I frantically pressed buttons and fingered knobs, I heard Eddie say in a very endearing and choir boy-like voice, Oprah, may I have a picture with you? It would be my dream. My camera fiddling reached fever pitch, and then she said it. She spoke to Eddie, and this is what she said. You gotta get bigger dreams. She paused, much in the way she had paused beside me when we'd met all those years ago in LA. The room stopped. I held up the camera in my shaking hands. The flash went off. By the time I looked at the image, she was gone. My heart was thumping. I turned to Eddie, who still had the beaming grin he'd had through the camera lens. For a second, I imagined he would never be able to stop smiling. He would go through life with this Winfrey's palsy, forever trapped in the moment when his idol had spoken to him. Did Oprah just diss you? I asked. Who cares, said Eddie. Let's see the picture. This was the picture. Not one of my best in terms of conventional composition, I'll admit. But in retrospect, I actually think it really captures the moment perfectly. Oprah is perfectly in focus and radiant, but of course, like any goddess, she cannot be fully present. Eddie, on the other hand, cannot be more present. And his perfect blurriness is exactly how I would wish to both describe and remember him in that moment. Eddie's friend Scott is a painter, and he did an oil painting of the photo, which now hangs in the hallway of Eddie's apartment. Eddie is still blurry, and Oprah is only half there. It's beautiful and weird because of its size, and I like that it is both a memento and another piece of art born out of our magical moment together. And I don't think Oprah dissed him. I actually think she was being self-deprecating. And even in that moment of dutiful dealing with the public, something she must do with monotonous regularity on a scale none of us can ever imagine, she was still able to impart something wise and true. Eddie did need to get bigger dreams. And by allowing me to capture that half-present, bloody moment, she released Eddie to contemplate those dreams, for one of his biggest dreams had come true.